I hope that I can see that. Deb? Deb? Oh, there we go.
Either everybody's very quiet or everybody's muted. I don't know which it is.
I'm just being quiet so far.
Okay.
It is 7 o'clock, and the mayor did advise me he wasn't going to be attending this evening.
Oh,
Mayor advised you what?
He was not going to be attending this evening. I texted Kevin, but I may not have done that very early on. Sorry.
When did you hear that information?
So I don't know. Before I came back in the office.
Like lunchtime?
No, he said in a text, I'm not available for tonight's meeting. I mentioned that on Monday.
Okay, I don't recall hearing it, but okay.
I don't either.
Kevin Carter will be fine as standing in as mayor.
Yeah, I certainly don't remember that.
He didn't mention it.
Okay.
Is Christian here? I don't see him.
No.
All right, let me check. Let me make. Well, I know he knows because we just came out of a meeting.
Mhm.
Do we want to wait for him or do we want to go ahead and proceed?
We have a quorum. Can we proceed?
Proceed, yeah.
Sure. Okay. It is 7:01. This is the town council meeting of Wednesday, 10 March 2021. And Mayor Bishop is not with us and Christian is not with us, correct?
Christian just joined.
Christian just joined. Okay, so Mayor Bishop is not with us. All the rest are present. So we're calling this meeting to order. We have 6 items on our agenda tonight. So we'll start. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
I motion to approve as presented.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Number 1, discussion and action to consider Board of Zoning Appeals letters of interest and nominate and appoint a member to fill a BZA vacancy for the term expiring 1st January 2022.
I saw one letter. I don't think there were any others. Am I correct?
I only know of one.
And when I talked to Pam Knight earlier in the week, she also said that she had only seen one, or she emailed me indicating that there was only the one. So the one that we have is Chad Gaudier, who currently serves on the Board of Zoning Appeals as an alternate member. And he has a couple of different times expressed his interest in serving as a regular member. I think we all know he comes with a good deal of construction experience.
How do we go? Do we nominate or do we vote?
Yes.
Requires a nomination. I move to nominate Chad Gautier to the Board of Zoning Appeals to fill a vacancy for the term expiring 1 January 2022.
I second.
Okay, you go ahead.
There's
Bob.
no second.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right, that's right.
It's just a nomination. So there's only
each
one
vote.
applicant and that person has been nominated. Is there any further discussion before we move to the voting phase?
None.
None.
Okay. So when I call your name, reply yes or no to appointing Chad Gautier to the BZA for the term expiring 1st January 2022. Barbara Humes,
Yes.
Jay Premack,
Yes.
Christian Petroconis,
Yes.
Nancy Case,
Yes.
Ed Wheelis,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, Mr. Gautier is appointed.
Do you have his term?
1st January 2022,
Oh,
and that's on the agenda as well.
oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Missed that. That's soon.
Okay, number 2, discussion and action to approve revised town council meeting agenda request form / instructions.
Okay. Actually, all the remaining items on the agenda are items that are coming out of office operations, and they're all agenda requests by me. And I'll give a brief explanation and then we'll just try to go through them. First, I hope everybody had an opportunity to look at them. It'll make things go a lot faster. The changes to these forms and these procedures is sort of stemming from the fact that we've added this virtual webinar component and a desire to make our forms more functional across the board for not just town council, but for town bodies in general. And the first form in front of you is the town council meeting agenda request form. We've had this, the last revision and adoption or approval was back in September of 2020. The only change to this form is you notice how it says town council meeting agenda request form and town council is in red. It's because I've created another agenda request form for all the other commissions, committees, boards, and subcommittees because none have ever existed. No official ones existed. On the second page, under the instructions, I've just modified A to read Harpers Ferry Town Council. The Town Council is the governing body of Harpers Ferry. The only other change I made to this form is at the request of Patty Morse. Previously, we had said that we would post the agendas in 3 different places: inside the post office, at the door, outside bulletin board at town hall, and on the Harpers Ferry website. All that's really required is that it's posted at the door of Harpers at the town hall. So I've just reduced it to 2 locations: at the door to town hall and the Harpers Ferry website. Other than that, I believe there's no changes to this document. Any questions?
Yeah. Was there a problem having something that was generic?
Generic for all bodies?
Mhm.
That was my first desire. but because the town council instructions are geared towards those agenda requests go to a mayor and a recorder, and all the other agenda requests goes to the chair, and there's different procedures for the chair, because the chair of a body may decide, I'm going to designate it to the secretary. That's fine. But that distinction made me want to keep separate the town council agenda request form and one for all other deliberative bodies. So basically what's happening, and you're going to see it in other stuff too, I'm starting to refer to the town council as the governing body and all other bodies as deliberative bodies.
Right.
And you'll see it and it'll make maybe even more sense because I'm in the middle of redrafting the hearing policy and creating a meeting policy that I know we've talked about for months. Those policies are for the deliberative bodies. Well, anyway, don't mean to confuse you more, but that's why there's two. Any other questions about the agenda form for town council and its instructions
Not a question, but a
or change?
modification on the instructions. B.
Mhm,
At the end, it says are complimentary.
mhm.
That should be COMPLEMEN.
Oh, really?
With an I is compliment, like compliment somebody on something.
Good one. Complimentary with an E. Okay.
Complimentary.
Okay. Excellent, actually. If there's no other changes that someone wants to make, I'll actually make a motion. Because this is a form that has to be approved.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to use the same language at the bottom of my agenda request form. I move that the town council approve and adopt the deliberative body. Oh, hello.
Nope.
Right, we had to separate those.
I move that I move that the town council approve and adopt the revised town council agenda request form instructions and the town council, with the effective date of March 10, 2021. Upon adoption, this procedure replaces the town council agenda form dated 9/14/2020 as amended.
A second.
And you can actually, okay, thank you. You can actually add the word as amended right after the first form/instructions. Move that the town council approve and adopt the revised town council agenda request form instructions as amended.
Okay.
With the effective date of March 10, 2021. Upon adoption, this procedure replaces the town council agenda form instructions dated 9/14/2020. Still second?
I still second.
Okay, good.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Barbara Humes,
Aye.
Jay Premack,
Aye.
Christian Petroconis,
Aye.
Nancy Case,
Aye.
Ed Wheelis,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Motion is approved. All right, number 3. Discussion and action to approve revised town council agenda posting procedures.
Again, these procedures are already in place and have been for quite some time. I made the distinction at the top in red, town council. I made the necessary change regarding number of locations where it's posted. I believe I put in red, I think that's new, noting that attachments related to an agenda deemed to be confidential in nature must be handled separately. I think that's self-explanatory. The one item that I'm recommending that it be changed is that on number 9, it's dealing with when a meeting's been canceled. And it kind of saying, well, if a meeting's been canceled, now we can change all of our days to only 4 business days to have deadlines. And really, it should just go back to the same procedure if a meeting's canceled, because what you don't know is you don't know if it's canceled by only a couple of days or if it's canceled by a month. So it should kind of just kind of revert back to the policy in general. And that's why I just took that out.
It didn't make sense.
I understand what the intent was. It is confusing, isn't it? But what the intent was, and this was probably made years ago when it was first adopted, was that, oh, if a meeting had to change, I didn't mean cancel, if a meeting had to change the date and it was only changed by a couple of days, why have to go all the way back to the 5-day period? And it was trying to allow some latitude, but you just don't know. You don't know how much a change in date's going to be. So I just took it out because it won't always apply. Sometimes a meeting date just might change by 2 days. Sometimes it might change by 2 weeks or a month. Does anybody have any recommendations for this particular form?
I saw on an,
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say this is an internal form to Harpers Ferry Town Hall staff.
I saw another form in the packet where webmaster was called out separately. And, you know, I assume that's the role Kevin is playing now, but he wears 2 hats. So I'm wondering if we want to list it as a separate role, as a,
Which number is it?
Can you come to the number where I think I know, hold on.
well, it would fall under the list of personnel at the top. We name the people who I assume play a role or involved in the process.
Is in the, and when you say in the packet, was it my other deliberative
Oh.
body?
Yes, let me.
Okay. I can make them consistent if that's what you're looking for.
Well, I think it was an old one. It's item 3, attachment 3 of 3.
Oh, that is an old form for commissions and committees where we referred to a webmaster and we gave Kevin's address. Is your recommendation that we include the webmaster because the person's name may or may not change in the future? That's
Right.
why-
Well, my only issue is that at some point those 2 roles might diverge and we'd be
Right.
ready for that. But
Okay, so
it's not an
Yeah,
issue
there's-
at the moment.
I think we leave it off because of that very reason, and we just keep the personnel instructed as recorder and town clerk, because the webmaster may or may not change. And the reason this form was in there was so that you can compare my new form to this old form.
I'm unclear from what you just said. Are you saying on the revised version on personnel to add webmaster as well, or no?
I'm saying leave it off. What are you saying, Ed?
I was thinking we might consider adding it because the 2 roles, we'd be prepared if those 2 roles ever separated, but
Okay, I
I'm
will.
okay. I mean, we could say it's the clerk's responsibility to notify the webmaster. I don't know.
I will just tell you this one thing. This is an internal form that has clerk at Harpers Ferry email address and recorder at Harpers Ferry email address. Once I add webmaster, I'm gonna have to add somebody's email address. And now whenever that person changes, somebody's gonna have to go back and make a correction to the.
I
so-
see.
You
Yeah,
don't really,
that alias address already exists.
you
Oh,
don't.
really?
Yeah,
don't
and it
have
does
an
go to
address
me.
for there. You
Okay,
don't-
so if there is a webmaster at Harpers Ferry, send me that email address, and for consistency, I'll add webmaster under personnel.
That's it, webmaster@harpersferrywv.us.
Are we looking at the form item number 2, attachment number 2 of 3? Is that the one we're looking at?
Uh,
Yeah, my recommendation was to consider adding webmaster under the personnel at
Yep.
the top of the letter
Good idea.
procedure.
Okay, And whenever I do this, I will amend all the forms to be consistent. Okay? Okay, I need to get rid of this one.
Well, you don't have an address for the mayor.
Which form are you looking at? The town council agenda posting procedure?
Yeah,
And the reason I don't is because there isn't, that I'm aware of, a mayor at Harper's Ferry. If there is,
Yes, there
I-
is.
There
okay,
is.
then I can add that. Does it go, because whenever I send an email to mayor at Harper's Ferry, I gotta tell you, it goes to Greg Vaughn.
Mm,
No, I've never had that happen.
Okay.
you might have it linked to his name. You just have,
That could be, you could be right, Barbara.
Yeah.
So basically, if somebody sends something to mayor at Harper's Ferry, it will go to Wayne Bishop. All the emails I have for him are W Bishop at Harper's Ferry.
yeah, because that's his actual inbox, but mayor is an alias address, just like recorder
Okay.
is an alias address.
Wasn't aware of that until now. So I will make the corrections for both the mayor so that there are all the alias email addresses for mayor and webmaster
Right.
on all these forms to be consistent. Okay? Okay, so if there is no additional, my goodness, I've got to find the right agenda request form. Okay. I move that the town council approve and adopt the revised town council agenda posting procedures with the effective date of March 10, 2021. Upon adoption, this procedure replaces the town council agenda posting procedure TH-002 dated 9/14/2020.
I'll second. As amended.
As amended. Thank you. Every one of these are going to have as amended now.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. Barbara Humes,
aye.
Jay Premack,
Aye.
Christian Petroconis,
Aye.
Nancy Case,
Aye.
Ed Wheelis,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Motion carried. Number 4,
Okay, this is the form that is a meeting agenda request form. It's been newly created and it's called deliberative body. So I've made it identical to the town council, except that the very top line says you have to fill it in. Which deliberative body? Is it planning, historic landmarks? Is it the water commission, budget and finance?
Okay.
Everything else remains the same. The instructions are very, very similar. I pretty much define deliberative body is any Harper's Ferry board, commission, committee, subcommittee, and or ad hoc committee with the exception of town council, which is the governing body and has a dedicated agenda request form.
Mhm.
The instructions change a little bit because you get down to E, and now it's either the president of planning commission or the chair of the body that has to review all the requests receives. They develop the agenda. Okay, so the instructions change to, and really all the wording deals now with the deliberative body.
right.
So this is a new form. Is there any change besides the amendments that you've already asked me to
I don't,
take care of the word complementary?
Yes.
No problem.
And this is still 5 business days before the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
On the first line on the first page, deliberative body, e.g., comma, planning, comma, historic landmarks, I would add comma, et cetera, etc. period after that,
Okay. Just make that note.
just so anybody doesn't look at it and think, oh, well, it only applies to those two.
Okay. ETC after. Ed, were you getting ready to make a recommendation?
Since it's a major group, we might include BZA in the list if they use this form.
Okay,
Well, you have to think about how much space you have there, but
I know, and I'm trying to keep it all to one page. I think I can make it work. That's the other thing. I'm trying to keep these to one-page documents so don't get crazy. But I understand what you're saying. BZA is critical.
Nancy, might I make another suggestion, which is to remove the EG and all that and just put deliberative body name. And then under instructions under A, where you're defining deliberative body, list each of those bodies.
oh, there are so
Yeah.
many. And
There's
then when
so
you
many.
create an ad hoc body, you would have to name that one
Well,
on
I guess
there. And
the regular ones, like, so we're not just omitting or choosing to list 2 or 3 of them.
I
doesn't
don't really
matter.
think that's necessary.
Okay, that's just.
As long as we have a good explanation of what deliberative body means.
Right. Any.
It's any body of the town government other than the governing body.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you though for the good ideas. And let me go back now to, nope, not that one. Yep, this one. I move that the town council approve and adopt the deliberative body agenda request form instructions as amended with the effective date of March 10, 2021. Upon adoption, this form replaces, no,
It doesn't
There-
replace
Another
it.
replace.
it doesn't replace anything. The effective date of March 10, 2021.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. Barbara Humes,
Aye.
Jay Premack,
Aye.
Christian Petroconis,
Aye.
Ed Wheelis.
Aye.
Oh, did I miss Nancy?
Aye.
Nancy, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And I vote aye as well. Motion is approved. Number 5.
What is number 5?
Discussion and action to approve newly created deliberative body agenda posting procedures.
Okay, why can't I find them? It's number 5, huh?
In the old list, it's number 3, attachment 2 of 3.
Thank you.
Because Kevin's using the new numbering system of the agenda. rather
There it
than
is.
old
Okay,
numbering.
thank you so much, Ed. Okay, so I'm going to amend this to, there is no mayor's name on this one because the mayor really doesn't have anything to do with deliberative body, but I'll add the webmaster.
Right.
This is a new form. There has not been a form that's been approved for commissions or deliberative bodies. There has not been a set of instructions. So I basically took the town council instructions. I adapted them to apply to deliberative bodies. Very
Which-
little, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought
No.
you were. The procedure number on first page, I assume that number is incorrect.
Please tell me what you're referring to now.
We're looking at the,
The deliberative body meeting agenda posting procedure.
right. And on page 1, you have procedure TH001.
Basically, I'm sorry, actually, there was an old commissions and committees. It was the first thing that Ed pulled up and said, hey, this had webmaster on it. There was an old form or procedures, posting procedures guideline. It's attachment number 3 if you want to compare them.
Yeah.
And
If I had opened that, I would have
Yeah.
done that.
I'm sorry, my apologies. I'm the one who told you that there was none, but there was an old one. And I just took that number from it and I'm replacing it with this one. And the new one more or less lines up with the town council now. obviously the instructions change, now it's the president, the chair who's um, drafting, I'm sorry, the agenda. Or you'll notice that there's a new sort of phrase in here, officer deemed responsible. The president or chair may deem the secretary responsible. That's something that's going to have to be, noticed to the staff so that they know. Everything else is the same.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
In the procedure handbook that we have in the town hall, the commission and committee agenda posting form is TH001.
Yes.
And then the town council is TH002. So
Yes.
just, okay. What
And
I
that's
pulled up,
how they're numbered.
okay, maybe I pulled up the wrong thing. I just wanted to make sure that we were, okay. I just double checked from the, okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's great to have all these eyes. Believe me, I've looked at it for a long time.
I hope you have some water there.
I don't, and I normally do, so. If there's no other changes that folks want to make besides those amendments that we talked about earlier, I'll make a motion that let me just get back to this. I move that the town council approve and adopt the deliberative body agenda posting procedures with the effective date of March 10, 2021. Upon adoption, this procedure replaces the committee or commission agenda posting procedure TH-001 dated 3/2018
Second.
as amended. Ed, you
Okay,
seconded?
Yep.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. Barbara Humes,
Aye.
Jay Premack, Christian Petroconis,
Aye.
Nancy Case,
Aye.
Ed Wheelis,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion is approved. And finally, number 6, discussion and action to approve the revised employee handbook.
This is something that I adopted under Office Ops, and actually the changes, the revision that I'm going to ask be made, the significant one tonight, was started under former Councilwoman Charlotte Thompson's chair as Office Ops, and it's just finally being incorporated into the employee manual. And the employee manual is being updated because, as I understand it, staff has only had a PDF version of the manual, and there were significant errors with regard to its Roman numeral. Some were cut off, and so I just have cleaned up this document. So the very first item, number 4, that's my proposed cover for the new employee handbook.
Hey, I just want to make one comment.
Yes.
There's no diversity in that photo.
I will see if I can find another photo, but that's just a stock photo.
Yeah.
But I'll see if I can't find another photo.
That's a
Okay.
really good catch, Barbara.
It is. I mean, I wasn't obviously thinking about that, but so that's the first one, and I will do what I can to find stock photo. And you can buy stock photo too, but okay, wow. Okay, I'm gonna have you skip to item number 4, skip one over, and it just says table of contents. So basically, that's just my recommended table of contents page. I have gone through it, and I've also asked Office Ops to go through it, and I've also asked staff to go through it a couple of times, just so you know there's other people's eyes that have been looking at this. And so that is a new cleaned up table of contents page with the accurate ABCD and numbering. And now the next thing is the actual body. Let me just say, I've highlighted some things because I had questions. I've highlighted some things because they need to be pulled out. So the first question was on page 1. I wasn't sure I understood where it says also the general information pertaining to the various benefits plans is based upon official text, which are controlling in case of question or inconsistency. Deb thinks she understands what this means. Kevin, what do you think this means?
I'm looking at that right now. General information.
Deb, you want to weigh in with your thoughts? Because I think you said you thought that there were controlling texts that might have been by state code or by,
the retirement board or by health insurance policies. And so I think they're just saying that, there's information that's in here, but if those official texts drive
Control.
in a slightly different measure, then that's what's going to go.
That's how I would read that as well, but it's contextual and up to individual interpretation. That might need to be clarified.
I don't know how to do it, and I didn't want to make a big change without knowing really what it meant. I just am highlighting it for conversation. And
Well, maybe it would, one way to do it, if we knew what those official texts were, would be to add a bibliography.
Well, except that you can always
We
be
don't.
adding them on, and you don't want to say there's 3 and then all of a sudden now we've got 4.
there's five, exactly. So I'm prepared to leave it alone because it's worked just fine for however many years. It's just that I wasn't sure what it meant, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't a typo.
You could change it to say pertaining to the various benefit plans is based upon other pertinent official texts. I think that would
Using
help clarify it a bit.
in front of it might help.
Yeah.
Other pertinent.
Help. I mean, when in this day and age, when you use the word texts, I think people talk about text, immediately think of texting on your phone. And so by saying
Exactly.
pertinent official text, I think that then it further qualifies what that is. Yeah.
Sources,
Or
official sources,
Documents,
sources.
sources, yeah, maybe.
I'm happy to
Sources or
change it,
documents.
whatever you're comfortable with and whatever you think is people were more ready to understand or able to understand. But Deb, you just hit the nail on the head, and there were enough typos in this document that I went, I don't know if it's a typo or if I just don't get it.
Well,
So-
and it's an old document. So
Yeah, yeah.
texting was just on the horizon then.
Based upon official, other pertinent official,
You might want to say pertinent official texts, comma, documents, commas, or policies.
no, that's not even policies. Because we're not even talking about policies. These are things that are set by, say, the retirement board or
Yeah,
official text.
they would be policies, though. They would be policies of those boards. Could be.
Well, I like just replacing official text with plan description or plan documentation.
Other pertinent official. Text and or sources. Text and or sources. I just want to.
I don't like the word text there.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
figure
take-
it out because this
take it.
document has been in play for like 7 months now, so.
Maybe sources is good.
Yeah, take out text and just use sources.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Sounds good.
that will be it. Other pertinent official sources. Okay, no changes, no changes, no changes.
Everywhere it says town of Harpers Ferry, change to corporation of.
I refuse. I will do it at the top. It's already done at the top. Kevin, I'm going to smack you. I know you're teasing. At the top, it says Corporation of Harpers Ferry, the town.
Yeah, but last paragraph on page 1, it says the town of Harpers Ferry.
Last
You
paragraph.
could
Oh,
change
I
it
see
to
what
just
you're
town.
saying, the town of Harpers Ferry. Yes, I will do that.
Mhm.
Oh, it might say that all throughout it.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably does.
Good catch.
I just have a accuracy, it's a pet peeve of mine.
I'm actually surprised I didn't
Accurate
catch it.
names.
I'm actually really surprised I didn't catch it. Okay. So you're gonna just kind of have to trust me a little bit, folks, when I say there in the old document, there were places where it would go from the alphabet G and it'd skip to J.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it was
saw that.
really
Okay.
bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was
So
laughable.
I've cleaned that up and we really don't have any other changes. I put in red, the stuff that's in red is just to highlight what's already in our manual. It involves the police department.
Can I name a page and a correction that I,
Sure.
potential correction? But it's way down there on page, let's see, I think it's, if I'm looking at the right one, 12.
Okay, we're gonna come back up then to 10. But what do you find on 12 that you'd like to see?
Oh, we can wait till you do 10.
Okay, on 10 is the big revision. So under the previous office ops, it was decided that the employment probationary period would be changed from 120 days to 90 days. And I believe if I understand that correctly, it was to be a more attractive employer, to try to encourage or incentivize people to come on board with Harper's Ferry.
My correction was, I'm sorry, page 10, right there.
Oh,
It says temporary part-time employees. Oh, but it wasn't in your yellow source. It was right below that. Temporary part-time employees are those who work less than
and
40 hours
per week,
or have been hired on a temporary basis.
maybe for
Shouldn't
like
that be
30 days.
And because if they're temporary part-time, they would be working less than 40 hours a week and would have been hired on a temporary basis, not or.
Well, I think what this might mean, when it says or have been hired on a temporary basis, you might hire somebody for 30 days to come in and just handle a project. We're archiving Dan Riss's stuff. It's not necessarily somebody who works less than 40 hours a week for a longer period, for 90 days. It's also somebody who's hired to work just on a project. That's how I read that, but I could be wrong. And then it goes on to say usually less than 90 days in either event.
Yeah,
But
and
I
I
think
think
that's why they isolate that, Barbara.
Okay,
I
so
think that term and that definition actually came from the state, if I remember right. Deb might remember that.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's why it says or,
And-
but I can also do and or.
Yeah, and
or.
we had this discussion before because the term there doesn't seem to match the definition. I remember
Yeah.
we had that discussion,
when you
but
explain
it came from the state.
yeah.
Would it be better if I did make it and or? Have been hired on a temporary basis?
So you're saying there, it could also be referring to someone who is temporary and part-time in the sense that they have they're almost like under a contract. They're working like, they're only going to work for 2 weeks.
Well, I wouldn't say contract because that implies something completely different. An
Yeah.
employee,
That's-
employee that could be it could be in a project employee. Like your task for the next 30 days to do nothing more than work on the Dan Riss archives.
Yeah, some kind of temporary project or temporary agreement, temporary task, something like that.
So they still would be, could they work a 40-hour week until they got finished or?
No, a temporary part-time employees are those who work less than 40 hours per week.
Well, that's why I think and has to be there, who work
Well,
less.
no,
than
I'll just
40.
make it and or.
You know what,
Oh, I see what she's saying.
Deb,
Mhm.
the reason it's temporary part-time employees, but it still says they can work up to 40 hours a week is because part-time is determined by the average number or the total number of hours they worked over the course of a year, isn't it?
Correct.
Right. So they can work 40 hours a week and still be considered a part-time employee as long as they don't cross that threshold of how many hours they can work over the course of an entire year.
That's true.
Although very clearly, this old language does say, are those who work less than 40 hours per week. And perhaps it's there because that's the norm.
Yeah, it gets sticky the more we think about it.
Yeah, I didn't change anything that was, you'll notice, I didn't, it's like above, it says 90-day probationary, and I've highlighted 90-day. The only change there is a highlight, and it changed from 120 days to 90 days.
And
I
that
didn't
was from
try
the
to
state
change
too.
anything else.
I think that was from the state as well. That change from 120 to 90 was originally from the state. And the 40 hours a week, if you
Scroll down to the top
cross
of the next page.
above 40 hours a week, then you get into a different set of labor law requirements.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, so I'm inclined to leave well enough alone sometimes for me. On page 12,
Should that section also add some language about being paid an hourly rate, like it says up above there under full-time employees? Or wait, where it says regular, underneath of that where it says regular part-time employees, which goes over to the top of page 11. It says are those who normally work 20 hours or more, but fewer than 40. And it talks about how they get paid an hourly rate for the number of hours worked. Would that not be?
I do not know. Again, I've left this language alone. I haven't changed it. I don't know why there's a difference. Quite frankly, I don't think pay belongs in regular part-time employee at all, because this page isn't defining pay. Anything that's talking about pay, quite frankly, should go under the next page section called compensation. But
Yeah.
But
Well, maybe
I didn't change it.
Well, maybe it should parallel each other. One says, does not mention pay, the other one does. So whether you put it in or take it out.
A regular part-time employee is paid an hourly rate for the number of hours worked each week.
So is a temporary
And
part-time.
regular part-time employees are eligible for a regular part-time employee is paid an hourly rate. Is a temporary part-time employee always paid an hourly rate, or can they sometimes be paid a flat fee? Deb, this is a question for you. Let's say that let's stick with the Dan Risk project. Might a temporary part-time employee be paid a flat fee?
It would be like a salaried thing if you were going to do that. But I think that would be kind of, I mean, I think if you're going to do a flat fee, like for a project, now you're talking about contracted work.
Okay. All right.
So why don't we take out the sentence about pay on regular part-time employees? Because both of them address annual leave, sick leave, and holiday pay.
I have no problem with taking out, hold on one second.
Or else adding that to the temporary part-time employee.
I don't know that pay belongs in there anywhere. The first thing is full-time employees, regulars, 40 hours a week, specified.
Yeah, I think
tend
it
to
doesn't
agree.
belong there at all.
You could certainly have a salaried arrangement with a 20-hour-a-week employee who is part-time.
That's true.
Okay, so so we decided to leave page that alone. Page 11 is regular part-time. Remove, I'm just gonna say this really loud, remove hourly rate sentence, period.
Mhm.
All right.
I just want to interject here for the rest of the council who is not on office ops.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like from this conversation that maybe we haven't discussed this enough at office ops and we shouldn't have brought this to council at this point, but you'd be amazed how many hours we've actually had discussions on this employee handbook up to this point.
And this employee handbook has been reviewed by legal counsel in the past, and
Mhm.
people we've been told that it's pretty good, solid. So
On page 12, again, I was trying to be consistent and I just changed that from his and her to their, because they don't really refer to his and her throughout this document. But those are the kinds of inconsistencies that we'll continue to catch over the course of time.
Yeah, and the opening prologue to this manual said that whenever you see
Right.
male gender reference, it doesn't mean it's just
Right.
that it's neutral.
But that one was just weird. Why does it say his/her? I don't know.
Mhm.
On page 14, I took out,
Oh, I wanted to ask about that one too.
which one?
I think that's the one.
14?
Any non-exempt, yeah, holiday pay. Any non-exempt employee requested to work on a holiday will be
What page are you on? Because I'm not.
right where you are, where it says there, his, her.
How do you know where I am, Barbara?
Holiday pay.
Okay, please give me a page.
Oh, 12, bottom of 12.
Thanks. I had already scrolled down to 14.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did too.
And you're like,
I'm
oh,
sorry.
you are.
My eyes were still glued there. It says it will be paid, anybody requested, and the non-exempt employee requested to work on a holiday paid one times their regular rate. Wasn't one time just what their rate is? What is one time?
I have no idea, but I didn't change it. Any
Because one
non-exempt
time
employee-
would be what you make times one, which is nothing, which is the same as what you make.
I questioned it when I read it as well, because but then I thought maybe I've misunderstood something.
No, you're not misunderstanding. I think it's
Well-
not right.
Any non-exempt employee.
non-exempt,
A
That means
non-exempt
a
person is
non-exempt
an
isn't
hourly
given
wage
anything-
person. A non-exempt person is an hourly wage person.
Right, and maybe what they're trying to
Not
convey.
necessarily. There's also salary, non-exempt salary.
Well-
But
Maybe what they're trying to delineate or clarify here is that a non-exempt employee working on a holiday gets paid just their regular rate, one time, their regular rate. But I thought that was weird too.
yeah.
Regular part-times get 1.5.
Why would
I've-
regular part-time get 1.5 and a non-exempt employee would get nothing? I mean, would just get their regular rate, would be paid, and you make it clear, will be paid their regular rate. Regular part-time employees will be paid 1.5 times their hourly rate.
I'm okay with losing one time, pay their regular rate.
If
But
that's
I
what
don't
you-
want to, I didn't want to make that call myself.
I support that.
will be paid at their regular rate.
Unless there was a typo in the dim distant past where they forgot to put where they had the 1.5 and dropped it, and it accidentally got dropped somewhere along the line. I don't know.
It could have happened.
Doesn't make sense. That a
I'm happy to
non-exempt,
change it to paid at their regular rate. Because that makes sense to me too. Hello?
that's what it's saying.
That is what it's saying, because one times the regular rate is the
Is
regular
the
rate.
regular rate.
All right?
Yeah. So why do regular part-time employees get 1.5?
As opposed to non-exempt employees? Are you asking a question? The
Yeah.
first one is non-exempt, the second is regular part-time.
I think it's because non-exempt employees are typically salaried and not
Right.
eligible for overtime.
No, exempt are people who are not entitled to overtime. It's just the opposite of what you would normally think. Exempt is not entitled to overtime because usually because they're salaried.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because in my last job, I was salary, and I'm pretty sure it was exempt salary. I didn't get any extra compensation.
All right, so non-exempt is correct. Non-exempt is somebody who's not salaried. Requested, so somebody who's not salaried, requested to work on a holiday will be paid.
There are non-exempt salary positions also though, where once you cross a certain amount of time, they have to be compensated for that, even if they're salary. So
That's true.
non-exempt and exempt don't refer to salary or hourly. It refers to whether or not they're exempt or non-exempt from
Bison.
certain overtime compensation.
All right, I got to tell you, I'm not comfortable making a significant change to that language
Yeah,
without an attorney looking at it.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I just didn't think we were going to be getting this.
Neither did
We're gonna get
I.
into this.
Well, that, I didn't, even- I just thought.
It's been that way since 2015, and
It might have been an error then.
Yeah. well, it
So
might have
it does
been.
require an attorney to look at it and determine what in the heck they're trying to say here, whether it should be 1.5 because it was a mistake, or whether it should just be wordsmithed a little bit, as Kevin suggested, or
I think my recommendation is going to be to, with the exception of changing his and her to their, I think my recommendation is going to be to leave it alone until we know what we're talking about and have the advice of an attorney.
okay, but you'll make a note of that, right?
Yep.
That's a very important thing, holiday pay. They
Yep.
write, it's touchy.
Okay. No changes until you get down to page 14, and all I've done is change consistency, 1.5 in parentheses. Got rid of the word to, compensatory time may not to exceed. I think it just means may not exceed a total. On page 16, under sick leave, you see the yellow highlight. It says, note, does Harpers Ferry have a retirement plan that we can credit sick leave to? I have no idea how long that's been in our document, but I think it needs to come out.
Yeah, it does not belong there.
Okay, page 19. The yellow highlight is the other element that the previous office ops voted to change, which was 40-hour week employees in probationary periods. Because before we changed the probationary period from 120 days to 90, this goes on to say that all 40-hour week employees in probationary periods shall be considered regular full-time employees and shall be eligible for all associated benefits immediately upon passing this June 19, 2019 revision to the handbook, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I think what has to happen here is, if this is the language you want, we stop at associated benefits. All 40-hour week employees in probationary periods shall be considered regular full-time employees and shall be eligible for all associated benefits, period.
I concur.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think what happened then was because there had been somebody who had gotten in a probationary period and kind of got trapped by whether they had benefits or not or
We
something.
just had some new employees who did not come to the table with existing health care, and we felt we needed to offer that to be competitive and compassionate employers.
Yep.
oh, and by the way, that bullet C, I actually created it. Benefits eligibility under probationary period, because it didn't exist. There was A and B, medical benefits, B, retirement benefits, C, benefits eligibility, probationary period. What's interesting is there's nothing that says anything about benefits eligibility for all other.
Generically, yeah.
One can assume that it's immediate for all others, but it just has never existed. And I don't think there's any more changes until you get to page 29 under
I wanted to question something under 22. I think it's on,
page 22.
let me see, G, is there a G on page 22?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, attendance.
And G, attendance. Employees who are taking leave must call in at least 1 comma half hour,
Mhm.
and it should be changed to at least a half hour. Must call in at least a half hour prior to reporting.
Yeah,
I don't think the comma needs to be there,
or 1-half.
or 1-half.
All right.
Either way is correct.
Okay, so which one was correct? 1.5 hours or a half hour?
It's supposed to be a half hour, but it's not written right.
Yeah, it should be
Okay.
It
changed
should be
to
1-half or a half.
at least a half hour prior to reporting time. Shall call in at least a half hour prior to
Or
reporting.
you could clarify it even more and say 30 minutes.
Hmm.
That's good.
Oh.
At least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Removes any ambiguity.
Yeah, because the end of that sentence, they refer to a 15-minute interval, so there's parallel construction.
Mhm.
Page 22G.
And,
At least 30 minutes. Okay, got it.
and under H,
Yeah.
right below that,
Mhm.
where you see a series of numbers from 1 through 10,
Mhm.
under that, it starts out an employee sees the contents of his/her personnel file, but it should be an employee may see the contents of his/her personnel. They don't go around seeing the contents,
Okay.
Of their personnel file.
yeah, of their personnel file. An employee may see the content of their personnel file.
Whenever you make that note, I have something. Just a technical thing.
I think I can change his and her to there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Going back to G, and throughout this document, I remember seeing this before, and I'm pretty sure I said something about it before. In technical writing, which is what this is, any number that's 11 or more, you write out in numerals and not in words. So in G, at the end there where it says 15 minutes, remove the word 15. And it would be the same with 30 minutes.
Okay, hold on. 11 or more, write in numerals
Correct.
or numbers. 10 or less, write out the word.
Write out the word unless a clarification is necessary.
Okay,
With 10 or less, with 11 or more, it's always numerals.
okay. So let's see, 23, 24.
Had something on 24.
Yep.
Telephones.
What are they?
Yeah, what are they? Since we do have cell phones, reference, I thought it was kind of archaic to see reference to local calls and long distance calls. It kind of seems outdated. And how are we going to monitor somebody making a long distance call on their cell phone? Except, well, I guess when you get your printouts of calls made, you can see if one was made to Hong Kong or
Let me just read this.
California or something, but I don't know.
This is assuming that these are for the employees that have cell phones. Telephones must be kept available for business at all times. As we make personal local calls before or after dark. During the
I think that last sentence could just be eliminated.
personal long distance calls are not permitted except by
We
permission.
don't have charge.
Yeah.
What about if somebody decides to start making international calls on a town cell phone?
So I think that the whole concept about cell phones and everything is something that probably needs to be explored and a better policy put in here, because you do have some employees who have town cell phones and you have people who do not. And so, I don't know that you want to get all into that, but I don't know that we're going to solve it. I mean, it's a pretty involved discussion.
Yeah, it is. I just wanted to raise the issue that I thought it was kind of.
Yeah,
outdated.
the only reason I wouldn't remove any kind of personal long distance calls is, and I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but you have to always prepare for the unintended consequences. And you do have cell phones that are issued to employees,
Mhm.
stopping somebody from calling Germany.
Well, there's also, the other thing is that half of the cell phone numbers that exist from your neighbors are long distance, just to, you can, so it is an outdated piece.
You could take out the long distance thing and just add a provision that says no international calls are permitted.
If that's the goal, yeah.
Yeah, because we might have to order a part from Germany.
International calls are not permitted?
Except by permission of the supervisor.
Mhm.
And, well, do you mean personal international calls?
Well, I
Yes.
meant any international calls, but yeah.
I think this gets thick because there are these phone lines that charge 888, I think, or something like that. I'm not sure. But
The hate for a good time, baby, call me.
yeah, so any call that incurs a charge against the town, really. So I think that needs to be studied for the
I
language.
think it needs to be wordsmith. That's a good point, Ed. That there's a way to revise that sentence, but we don't have the time to do it tonight. So,
Can put it on office ops to take a look at it.
yeah.
All right, so I can clearly see that this is not going to be adopted or approved tonight. And so let's just go on down to page 29, just a typo and statement of acceptance. I'm not even sure if there was a signature page. I
There
can't
was not.
remember.
Oh,
I think-
I wanted someone to explain to me on 29, under section 11,
Mhm.
where it talks, just an explanation, where it talks about 40 hours exclusive of a 1-hour meal period per day. Does that mean in addition to the 40 hours, you get an unpaid 1 hour, or you take an extra hour and it's unpaid, so you could essentially be working 41, you could be on duty 41 hours with 1 hour for meals not that you're not paid for. How do you interpret that?
I read it as excluding the lunchtime.
You're not getting paid to eat a meal.
You're not getting paid to eat a meal, but that fits within the 40 hours. So are you really
No.
getting paid for 39? I mean,
No,
I don't know how
no.
to interpret that.
You work 40 hours. You have a 1 hour unpaid lunch in the middle.
So you're being paid for 39 hours.
No,
So
No,
you're being
you're
paid
being paid for
for
40 hours.
40,
The
and
work
if you
schedule is,
elect, if you
You have
elect.
to, consider the hours of days you work. Are you working 9 to 5? You got to factor that in.
it's 8 to 5, which is 9 hours, but then
There
you
you go.
take out the 1 hour for a
for
meal.
lunch.
Okay, that's what
So
I'm
it's-
saying. All right, so if you divided 40 by 5, you would get, oh, okay.
8 plus the 1.
Carry the 2.
Plus the 1 for each
the
work day of
power.
the week, which is 5 hours. So
Yeah.
All right, so that's the end of, Deb, did you understand the reason for the signature page on the, basically?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think I
That
had
has
that
to
all
be a
along.
tear out page, or you make a copy of it and drop it in the file.
When we distributed it last time, I made a page like that. You have to have that. Yep.
Okay. All right, so I think there's too many changes made to this to vote to even amend it. And as much as I wanted to just get ready, this is going to come up again. And I hope if there are significant changes that people who want to talk about it will come to and bring it to an office ops meeting or something so that we can actually get this revised and in circulation. Because right now, what we have is horrible.
Well, I think we got resolved everything but what, maybe 2 or 3 sections that are going to need to be wordsmithed or reworked. It's really, everything else was,
One's an attorney and the holiday pay is the attorney and the telephone. So the holiday pay and the telephone are not resolved and they're not wordsmithed.
Well, I wonder if we want to approve what you have so far so that we don't have to revisit this.
yeah, that's.
I mean, we can, but it isn't going to matter because I can't go to print with it. I can't go to publication with
No,
it.
but I think
until
what
it's done.
What Ed's meaning is we don't have to then go review that the next time it comes before us. It'll be just those 2 things that that you noted,
Okay, again.
right? Is that what you were meaning, Ed?
Yeah,
I think that what we do is we just wait, and then the next time I bring this forward, is I bring only those 2 items forward. Everything else we already are discussing, we've amended. But if we vote on it to adopt it, and then you change, 3 things anywhere else, it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
We just won't vote on it tonight. We'll all agree that we've made a lot of great progress, and I appreciate the input. But I'll just bring it forward for future discussion about that holiday pay and telephone stuff.
I have a question / concern. This particular document's not optical character recognition. Like you can't go through and search it. You can't put your cursor over it. So I'm not sure what the format. It looks like it was scanned on a printer. Is
Or
it?
the one that you're looking at, the PDF that you're looking at?
Yeah, it's like a picture basically. You can't interact with the text.
Right.
Can't copy it, can't paste it, can't search it. So whatever we get really needs to be in that format for usability and scannability.
Okay.
It
so-
will be when we get to that point.
Okay.
Just like the agenda request forms, the instructions and everything, they're the same way tonight. They're appear to be a scan, but I'm going to insist on having the original PDFs when we, to upload those to the website.
And just so that you all know, when I create a form or I created this document from scratch, I create it in Word, and I always send the Word document to the recorder and to the town clerk. And then they have the original document, and then it's up to them. I also send a PDF, but usually they'll create their own PDF. But I create all of my documents in Word. If there's something special I have to do that, to what you said, Jay, where you can.
Whenever I save a PDF, you can highlight it. You can put your cursor on it. You can search it. It shows up.
All right.
This is outside of this context,
So-
but Ed had a document, on a document. There's a project that he was working on, and I was able to take an old document and run it through a program. But the modern documents, when you output them as a PDF, they should just inherently be
Nice.
searchable.
Okay, so when I'm done, I create them all in Word and give the original to the recorder and the town staff. Okay, so I think, given that, I am done.
Unless there's an objection, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
And thank everybody again for your input on, especially this handbook.
Thanks for all your work, Nancy.
that's
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Good
we
night,
have a motion
everybody.
to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, or somebody else.
I'll second.
We'll all
Everybody
second
seems to
that.
want a second.
all
I
did.
can only have one, so.
Good
I'm
night.
going to say
All those
Barbara.
in favor, aye.
All in
Aye.
favor.
Aye. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.